a fascinating conversation. Nobel Prize and Israel Prize laureates whose work has influenced Israel and the world. Please welcome Professor Yisrael Aumann, a 2005 winner of the Nobel Prize in Economics, Professor Dan Shechtman, a 2011 Nobel Prize laureate in chemistry, and Professor Michal Schwartz, who just last night received the Israel Prize in Life Sciences. He'll be interviewed by Mayan Hoffman, Jerusalem Post Deputy CEO for Strategy and Innovation and a senior correspondent for the Jerusalem Report.
Okay, well, it's such an honor to be up here with such incredible prize winners and scientists. I want to start just by making sure everybody understands who we have on the stage. Professor Aumann, you were awarded the Nobel Prize in Economic Science in 2005 for your work on conflict and cooperation through game theory analysis. Your insights help explain economic disputes like price wars and trade wars. Professor Shechtman, you received the 2011 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for discovering crystal structures previously unknown to science, quasi-crystals. Quasi-crystals have transformed scientists' understanding of how matter can arrange itself and open scientists' minds to a whole new class of materials that can exist. And Professor Schwartz, you are one of the leading scientists in your field. Last night, you received the Israel Prize in Life Sciences for what the committee calls groundbreaking discoveries that led to a new understanding of the interactions between the immune system and the brain. Your discoveries include the critical role played by immune system cells in repair processes within the central nervous system, the importance of the immune system to the functioning of healthy brain, and the link between the decline in immune system function and dementia. Tell us about your research and how it could affect our lives.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me back? So basically, the brain was considered for decades, since 1960, as an organ that is completely isolated from the immune system. And my team, since 1998, decided to challenge this dogma, and we discovered, unlike the prevailed dogma, that the brain needs the immune system for its maintenance and repair. And we discovered that basically aging of the brain or dementia is not necessarily an outcome of the chronological aging, but aging of the immune system. Based on this understanding, we suggested 7 years ago to treat Alzheimer's disease and other type of dementia by rejuvenating the immune system. So that's basically a summary of a 26 years working, leading into new treatment of dementia. Okay, I finished.
Well, you're not really finished, because the truth is your work actually challenged the prevailing dogma. But you believed in it, and 30 years later, as you said, it's now a mainstream understanding about the role that the immune system plays in the brain health. Explain to me how you managed to fight against all these other scientists and move forward with what you knew was right, even when they thought you weren't.
We need several hours to discuss it. Basically, when I first published the first paper, published in 1998 in Nature Medicine, my colleagues at the Weizmann and in the world told me, you're absolutely wrong. At that time, I decided that there is no way to convince my opponents, and the only way to convince them by continuing doing the hard work. And I used to cite Abraham Lincoln when he started with his revolution. He told himself that if I will spend time trying to convince my opponents, I will not have time to do my work. If at the end of the day I'm right, I wouldn't need it. If I'm wrong, it will not help me. So I decided to continue working hard. And I think the time that the community joined us and started to understand and believe that we were right, when we demonstrated for the first time that brain plasticity, cognitive ability, coping with stress, and later on it was shown by others, and social behavior are very much dependent not only on the brain, but on the immune system. And this was really revolutionary at that time. The way to manage with opposition in science is only hard work, believe in what you're doing, like what you do. And I think that in this community, I would like to emphasize that I was very lucky to have outstanding students that joined me. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do the work. And very nice support from the European Commission, competitive grants, very generous grant. Without them, which I received several times, I wouldn't be able to do the work. So hard work, love science, passion, and belief.
Amazing. I want to ask you one more question before we move on to some of our other panelists. Because your research today actually has very real implications to many of our daily lives. You are right now in the midst of a clinical trial looking at how your research could stop the progression of Alzheimer's. Briefly tell us about that trial and how long will it take until we can really see this come to fruition?
Okay, so basically, based on deep understanding of the relationship between the brain and the immune system, 7 years ago we discovered that the way to treat the brain, Alzheimer and any other type of dementia is not by targeting a therapy to the brain, but harnessing the immune system to help the brain. And this is briefly what the treatment is about. So 7 years ago, we founded a new company, a startup company, which is now Small Biopharm. And we completed all the preclinical study needed to go for clinical study. I should emphasize that right now there is not a real treatment for Alzheimer or any other type of dementia, the prevalence of which is going up with the increased life expectancy. And the biopharm that we founded got all the approval by the regulatory authority in Israel, in UK, in Europe, and in the States. We initiated the clinical trial 4 months ago in 5 centers in Israel, 3 and hopefully 4 in UK, and eventually 2 centers in Amsterdam. We believe the first few patients were already dosed with the treatment. We believe that in a year from now we'll be able to open the code because it's double-blind. And see safety and some sign of proxy to efficacy, but overall it will take several years, and I hope that all of us will be able to enjoy it. The idea is not to rejuvenate the brain, but hopefully to arrest disease progression and make an untreatable disease to a chronically treated disease.
Wow. Michal is not the only one who has a startup. Israel is the startup nation, the scale-up nation, the unicorn country. Jews and Israelis have received many more Nobel Prizes than expected for being such a small piece of the world's population. Professor Shechtman, Professor Aumann, why do you think that is?
Shall I start? Okay, this is a very important question. In Israel, we have 4 Nobel Prizes in sciences, in chemistry. Let's assume that the number of Jews in the world, in the diaspora, equals the number of Jews in Israel. You know how many Jews won Nobel Prize in the diaspora? 150 Jews. And in Israel we have 4. So Why are we so proud of ourselves? Something is wrong here. We should have many more Nobel laureates in chemistry and in physics and in physiology in Israel. Why don't we have that? Because we don't have the facilities that the Jews in other countries have. And let me tell you one more thing. Hershko and Shekhanovers, with their discovery of ubiquitin, they received the Nobel Prize with a partner from the United States. Ada Yonat, with the discovery of the structure of ribosome, could not do it in Israel because she needed a synchrotron to run her experiments. And we don't have a synchrotron in Israel, so she used synchrotrons around the world. I myself made my discovery while I was on sabbatical in the United States. Hey, something is not working very well here. We need much more investments in science in Israel. What does it mean? It means opening civilian research institutes in Israel. We hardly have any, maybe something in the north. In the United States, every office or every ministry has many research laboratories. Department of Health, hey, NIH is a huge institute. Department of Commerce have a fantastic research institute. Department of Energy, 26 research institutes. It's amazing. And this is why most of the Nobel laureates come from the United States. Most of the Nobel laureates in the world come from there because they have the facilities. It's wonderful that we can cooperate with them. It is great. But hey, we need to do much more here in Israel. What is the budget of the Ministry of Science in Israel? Minuscule. Something has to be changed here. We need civilian research institutes, and the real one, serious ones in Israel. This will also bring back the exiled scientists who cannot find a job here and are doing very well in the diaspora. We need to bring them back.
But
Hey,
Professor
government,
Shechtman,
wake up.
Professor Shechtman, can I ask you? You were one of the lucky ones, though, who did receive a Nobel Prize. So maybe share with us a little bit about what it feels like to receive a Nobel Prize. What was it like the day that they informed you that you were a winner?
How did I feel when I was informed about the one? Okay. All right, if you're interested, I was sitting in my office, working on the computer, and the telephone rings, and I say, not even looking, I say, Medaber Dani. Hello? This is the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. Please hold the line. Very important message. So I say, uh-oh. And then they tell me you received a Nobel Prize in chemistry, and congratulations, and so on and so forth. And Professor Aumann had a similar experience, I assume.
Well, Professor Aumann actually probably had a very interesting experience, I think, being one of the first.
So, and they tell me about the what?
No, he's one of the first, but he's also an observant Jew going up to receive the Nobel Prize, and I want him to also have a chance to speak and to tell us about that.
I'll say it again for me.
Professor Aumann received a Nobel Prize as well, and he went up on the stage as an observant Jew, right? To represent Israel as an observant Jew.
Talk to the microphone.
Let me respond to your question about why is it that Israelis and Jews have a disproportionate number of Nobel Prizes. Now, I hear now that 150 Nobel Prizes in chemistry went to Jews.
In science.
In science.
Science altogether, 150.
This is what happens when you have professors sitting together on the stage.
I would estimate it I would estimate it as more because the Nobel Prize is 120 years old, and I have heard that the proportion of Jews in the Nobel Prizes is like 25% or something like that. That would make it a lot more than 150.
In
maybe-
science, in
Okay,
science.
well, let's move on though, because we really want to hear about what
Anyway,
it's like
okay,
to
then
get the
I'll-
prize.
Okay, we won't argue about that, but I would like to explain the phenomenon of Jewish, and I think that Israel and Jewishness is very much associated with the Jewish people are associated with Israel, and Israel is associated with the Jewish people. Now, I think that a major, or the major value of the Jewish people is Torah study. Okay, that is the major value, and we say this in our morning prayers. We say Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. The study of the Torah is equivalent to everything, all of the Jewish values. And this, in other words, it's an intellectual endeavor that has become the major value of the Jewish people. And this, it's not the study of the Torah. It started out as a study of the Torah, but it became an obsession with intellectual activity. The Jews are called the people of the book, and it's not for nothing. It used to be that when a rich man wanted to marry off his daughter, in all other peoples, he seeks another rich man to provide a son, a groom, for the daughter. In the Jewish religion, the rich man goes not to another rich man, but he goes to the head of the local yeshiva, and he asks him, "Who is your best student?" Okay, so that is the value, and that has filtered through and become. And that, I think, the cultural value of intellectual endeavor is what makes it possible for the Jews to to excel in intellectual activity.
Amazing. So we're running out of time. I want to be able to ask just one more question, and I want to start it with you, Professor Aumann, by quoting from actually what you wrote in your autobiography that you submitted to the Nobel Foundation. You said this: "For me, life has been and still is one tremendous joyride, one magnificent tapestry. There have been bad, very bad times, like when my son Shlomo was killed in action and when my first wife, Esther, died. But even these somehow integrate into the magnificent tapestry. And there have been a lot of very good times. The excitement of research, of groping in the dark and then hitting the light, the satisfaction of teaching, of meeting someone at a party who tells you that the coarse and complex variables that he heard from you 25 years ago was the most beautiful that he ever heard. Seeing the flag of Israel fluttering in the wind, right next to that of Sweden, from the roof of the Grand Hotel in Stockholm." Professor Aumann, you are 93 years old. You are still researching right now the evolution of consciousness. You are still seeing the beauty in life. For all of you scholars here, starting with Professor Aumann, what is your secret sauce?
Young people always ask me, what is it that I should do to succeed? And many people say hard work, perseverance is what makes it. But I don't think that that is the key. The key is do what you like, okay? Do what interests you. Do what pulls you. Professor Schwartz said the same thing. Yeah? She mentioned hard work. I don't think hard work is the issue, okay? Perseverance, there's some perseverance, yes, perseverance, but the main thing is do what interests you. Do what you like. Do what pulls you. That's it.
Professor Shechtman, what is your secret sauce?
The question again?
What makes you tick? What is your advice for our audience to be able to achieve great things?
First of all, I agree. Choose a subject that you like, but once you do that, try to become number one in it. Number one in your school, number one in your group of research, number one in your country, number one in the world. Do something that you like, but whatever you do, try to be number one in that particular subject. If it's chemistry, try to be number one in chemistry. You want to play the saxophone? That's great, but try to be number one.
Thank you, and Michal. Professor
Excellent.
Schwartz.
I'm repeating myself. Love what you do, passion, believe in what you're doing, and in life science, also hard work. It's not enough to love. You have to invest.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you all. We will now be taking a brief 20-minute break.